Да, блядь, происходит. А происходит третий стрим Банжи. Через неделю уже выйдет аддон. Ну как аддон? Большой дополнение. Into the Light. И мы, собственно, хотим посмотреть эту. Что они нам покажут напоследок. Это третий стрим из 3. Сегодня они обещали нам показать. Сегодня обещали они нам показать возвращающиеся экзотические миссии. Скорее всего, шепот червя и Zero Hour, как он там называется. Раз какой-то там. Собственно говоря, на шепот червя и на эпидемию. 3 карты обещали показать PvP, которые выйдут в мае. И что-то еще. Пантеон там какой-то PvP челлендж. Непонятно вообще, что это за херня, но посмотрим. Так, пару минут. И будем стартовать. Так, я надеюсь, по звуку все нормально, и меня слышно будет. И будет слышно, что будут говорить товарищи разработчики. Разработчики. Так, все работает вообще. Все работает. Замечательно. Если человек... Опа! Hello, everyone! Есть новые люди? Есть новые люди.
Into the light. My name's Andy. I work on the social media team here at Bungie, and we've got an awesome set of topics to go ahead and cover today. But first things first, we wanted to go ahead and remind you guys of one clarification we made. For starters, all of the weapons in the Brave Arsenal will now be releasing on April 30th. So,
Господи, они сразу сказали, которые они показали на прошлом стриме, которые можно из слота выпить, что они будут доступны там через 2 недели, а не, блядь, 6 недель, как они говорили изначально в Твабе. Бля, это же они на первой же секунде этого стрима об этом говорят. Это же как их заебали, наверное, все. Виноватые такие сидят, господи. Да, блядь.
whole new set of topics to discuss today.
Почему нельзя бы это было сразу? Ну, если вы так быстро решили это все сократить до 2 недель, почему нельзя это было бы быстро? Вы не могли предположить такую реакцию, что ли?
Just be me talking through it. So let's go ahead and tell you about the wonderful folks I have here just to my left. Some incredible
Wonderful folks. Let's go.
We'll go ahead and start with the gentleman here to my left. Friend of the show, one and only Mr. Tom Farnsworth, Senior Design Lead here at Bungie. Tom, welcome back.
I'm back. I keep bringing me back.
I know. Come on, you're the best. We couldn't possibly let you go.
No, of course, I'm the creative lead for Into the Light, but we're really here to talk about all the great work the team has done and these individuals here with us today. And we're going to talk about some exotic missions, some rewards associated with them, and some PvP stuff. So let's dive in.
PvP stuff, давайте. Все интересно. Все интересно.
А,
ну эпидемия лежит на столе, господи, о чем мы говорим? Это, блядь, Zero Hour, они 100% возвращают. Вот эта пульсивка, я не помню ее архетип, будет крафтовая 100%.
The one and only Willie Chang, activity designer here at Bungie. How you doing, Willie? Good morning.
I'm doing well.
For the folks at home that may not be familiar with you or your work, what do you do here at Bungie, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm an activity designer for Into the Light. I worked on the 0 Hour reprise.
Excellent. Well, with that, we may as well start diving into the show.
Hour reprise, то есть возвращение Zero Hour.
To start with, in addition to, like we mentioned, some awesome reprise exotic missions, including the Whisper and 0 Hour, which will both.
Шепот и Виспер. Ой, Шепот и Zero Hour. Типа все первые две топовые экзотические миссии. Первая Виспер была, блядь, отвал ебла. И Zero Hour тоже разъеб.
Why did Bungie make the Whisper to begin with?
Well, I think in the first few months of D2, I want to say like the first 3 to 5 months, we felt like there weren't enough secrets in the game. It felt like the game was pretty well known, you know, and kind of like discovered. And it just needed some big secret to be found.
О, Алексей, хорош.
That would excite our community quite a bit. Like it would just go over really well. We hoped it would at least.
Yeah.
And we had all this nostalgia for the Vault of
Они
Glass,
хотя бы эти
like
миссии хоть как-нибудь переработают. Это, конечно, хорошо, что будут крафтовые экзотики из них падать, но ебаный по голове. По Висперу скучали очень сильно. О боже мой. Концепт-арты, блядь. У меня таких концепт-артов в школе я рисовал очень много.
And really, this kind of shows some of the magic formula. You know, like we had a contract, really, that we called it a contract, and this was an unspoken agreement between us as devs and the hardcore, super engaged players.
Yeah.
And it really was.
Но Виспер появился в свое время вообще внезапно. Его не анонсили. И там на ИО, когда ИО еще была в игре на планете, там просто какой-то был паблик-ивент, там спавнился босс, ты его хуяришь, и там, короче, ну, он в какой-то пещерке там был. А потом из пещерки выходишь, там появлялся этот портал сигаешь, начинается, собственно, энкаунтер. И там, типа, ты вот в этом древнем, заброшенной какой-то вот этой вот пещере, такой странно, технологично древней, там такие вайбы жесткие, и блейдраннеры были, и какого-то чужих там типа пиздец. Она интересная была. Там джамп-пазл прикольный, красивый, а потом в конце такой нормальный пизл происходит. Что за рисунок ребенка? Это, понимаешь, вот в этой компании так концепты делают. То есть они вот это вот на бумажке нарисовали такие какие-то приколы, а потом такие, блядь, в игру заносим это все. Заносим в игру, блядь. Вот рисунок, делайте активность.
As they let their friends go first that first time to watch them fall off the edge helplessly. Yeah.
Бля, какая классная это.
Also too is, you know, to kind of focus a little bit more on the
Лежит на
art
столе, я тоже
direction
такой
as
хочу.
well. I think to put it lightly, the vibe in the Whisper is pretty intense. Can you tell us what it was like kind of
Вот оно, эти арты, это пизда. Это пизда. Там еще саундтрек, блядь, просто ебейший был.
Mystery vibe, right? The mystery of I'm on IO and I found this place that I've never seen, I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
And where does it go, right? In that mystery.
Классно, на официальном, на официальной трансляции Bungie в чате гусей запускают. Работяги.
So we were watching Stranger Things and listening to the soundtrack, and I got really into, you know, building this this traversal puzzle, it has a really consistent vibe because it was just one type of music that was listened to for the whole thing. Yeah.
Speaks to my Hotline Miami fan
Yeah.
inside, honestly. Also, too, is we've got another picture as well of the
А там
infamously
баня
titled
благовышек
Green
сразу,
Rooms as
братан.
well. There was a really cool anecdote you
Вот
had
оно,
about the
Green
development
Room, да,
process
вот
of
эти
this.
все
What was it
тут,
like
блядь,
bringing
ебанутый
this
джамп-пазл
kind of
был,
very
там
iconic,
прыгать
I
надо
guess
было
I'd say,
каким-то
Destiny
откосом,
room to
вообще
life?
непонятно,
Yeah, well,
нелогичный.
this is funny because there was this thing that we wanted to try, right? Make a room that has a
Я так
trap
понимаю,
inside
они
that if you mess up, you
просто
end
ее
up going
запихнут
down
в
the
этот же,
trap
в
and you get
директоре, вот в
punished for
эту
it. And when you get out, you
папку,
end up
где
back in the
Legends,
room.
и там
And it
просто
just
вот эти
happens again
миссии.
and again and again. And there's all these different ways that you try to find
Блять,
your way out
еще
of
ж
the
небось
room.
опять где-то сделают ротацию, что нужно
So
проходить
the
там
test was to
то,
make a
чтобы
tiny
падало
version of this, like
там
1/4
определенные,
scale. And we
неопределенные,
brought it
не
into
по
the
неопределенным
Playtest lab.
неделям.
We had Cosmo and Dylan. We had a bunch of our
Лучше бы они,
testers and
конечно, это
designers in
сразу
there.
показывали, что у
And I just
Виспера по
waited,
перкам
right? And I
было.
waited
Он же
for
по-любому будет
someone to
крафтовый.
find the hidden shortcut, right? Like what would happen when they
И что
what's gonna
будет,
happen when they find that
за
hidden
что за
shortcut?
перки они ему
And so the
запихают.
first person that
Потому
found it, they
что
just
когда
screamed and started
вышел,
laughing, and then everybody
там
started finding it.
этот,
And based on
он
that
был топ
reaction, we knew we
ДПС,
had something
она
good. And
снайперка в
it
Heavy
got
Slot,
scaled up
топ
into what
ДПС
you see
была,
here.
она
And
пули
back to the
генерировала
vibe
из
thing
ниоткуда.
again.
И можно было
When this
там
got
кому-то
built, all I
фризону
did
прям
was
с
listen to
маченька
Black
так
Sabbath, the
напуливать.
first 6 albums, like over and over.
Yeah.
So it just
Я
has
думаю,
that
что ей
really,
по-любому должны хоть
really
чуть-чуть так
consistent
что-то
vibe all
там
the way through. That's just
урон
a
бафнуть
trick
или
that the
какой-нибудь
whole
Warple
team
Weapon,
uses
перк
to
дать
get
на урон по
a
боссу.
theme
И
or a
какой-нибудь
vibe
трипл
that
тап,
will be consistent.
4
We're gonna go
times
ahead
на
also
чарм
to
эти
start
перки,
jump into the
чтобы
activity so we can
можно
see
стрелять,
this
стрелять,
this
стрелять.
vibe up close and personal as well. But here we are. We're back in the Whisper as well. Really quickly too, off the
Он
top,
показывать будут?
Willie, when it comes to bringing these
Вот оно,
encounters
погнали.
forward, bringing them to the modern era of Destiny, what were some of the bigger challenges that you'd say you have to overcome? in order to
Он
make
с
sure
луной
that
бегает
we're
уже с
staying
новой
safe?
пушкой. Хорош, хорош. А, у него все,
Yeah,
походу, новые
so
пушки сразу.
sandbox-wise, players nowadays pack a lot more power than they did before. People can clear
О, этот
entire
голос
rooms of
пизда.
ads from these activities back when they were in their original state,
Yeah.
just like extremely quickly. So we had to beef up the number of combatants that are in these encounters, and later on I might talk more about additional tuning that I've done on them.
Totally, yeah. We can come back to that in a second, but I think also
Блять,
too,
надо
really
вспоминать
quickly,
опять будет,
you
как
know,
это все
back in the
проходить.
day, there was a
А,
very
они еще и
bespoke way of
втроем.
getting into the Whisper. You had
Yeah.
kind of hang out on IO, wait for this mysterious portal to come up.
Yep.
But we've made some changes to that as well. I think you were
Так, а я
mentioning before we hopped on the
насколько
air.
помню, там
Oh,
еще
yeah,
был
I mean, I
прикол,
was
что
strict
нужно
about
было
it,
Виспер
right? We hit the
проходить за
public
20
event
минут,
with the RNG,
и
you had to wait for the right one, and, you know,
Yeah.
one-
или не
one time I tried to take a
засчитывалось, или
coworker
что-то не
through on a
давало, я вот где-то
Saturday.
не
We spent
вспомню.
like
Ну
7
там
hours trying to get a
а,
few
вот,
runs
тайм
because
ремейнинг
of the public event.
34
And that,
минуты.
we just had to change that, right? And the team was excited about
Я честно не
having
помню,
a
что
new
происходит, если
event factor in
не
character.
уложиться.
You-
Просто
you
типа
know
миссия
what I'm talking.
заканчивается,
So
или
we'll be
дропа не
talking to
дают, это я не
Eris
помню.
Morin's going to tell you some really cool stuff. I don't want to give it away,
Smart, yeah.
but you know, you're not going to have to deal with the
Блять, а когда это было?
trigger to get in anymore.
Excellent. No, that's
Виспер
always gonna be
вышел.
giving a chance, especially, if people are going to come back in here multiple times.
Я даже не помню, какой сезон это был.
Obviously a pretty key component. Also too is, I
3-4
think it's
года
worth
назад.
mentioning that this has undergone more changes than just the combat landscape.
Yeah.
For the veteran players who are coming in here, folks like myself that have maybe kind of had a lot of this committed to memory, how have you gone ahead and made sure that it's fresh for those veteran guardians out there?
Yeah, well, the goal was, how is this going to be exactly what you just said, right? Like if I've played this 10, 15, 20 times, I've guided people through, maybe I've made a video about how to get through here. How's it going to speak to me, right? Like what's going to be cool for me to go in and do it again? And that was the goal that the team had. And when we knew we were going to do this, I made my own list, right? Like I was like, we're
То
going to
есть они
change this,
думали
we're
о
going to
том,
do that, we're
что
gonna...
нахера мне проходить эту
And I was
миссию
really
опять, если я в
excited.
свои
So
какие-то
Tom-
там,
so Tom
ну,
was in this
в свое время
meeting. So
проходил до
we-
15
I
раз,
show up,
что
there's
мне
like, you
это
know, 15, 20
нового в
people,
этой активности.
and they presented this whole plan, and I
И у
had
них
my
был план.
list all ready to go, and I was going to wait. I was going to listen to all the proposal and everything, and then
Yeah.
start giving ideas and stuff. And when they finally finished presenting this
О,
plan
поди.
for how to
Ну,
update
какой-то,
this
блядь.
thing, I just deleted my list because it was like it was way bigger and way cooler than anything that I'd come up with.
Господи,
Yeah.
играют,
This is
походу, не
so cool to
разрабы,
see, like, a
потому что
fresh
никто не
take on it.
упал
So,
еще.
if you think you know where the chests are, if you think you know where all the secrets are, if you think you know where all the surprises are,
Yeah.
you don't, because they're different. All those old guides and all the old walkthroughs, they're going to have to be remade. Even though I'll just give one away. When you first get in, there's that first secret chest room on the right.
Right.
The anomaly has taken care of that. It's not there anymore.
То есть они поменяли секретные части куда-то, ну, сундуки засунули куда-то в другое место.
Oh yeah.
By the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Also, too, are there any other changes that you guys are particularly excited about when it comes to the Whisper? We're going to move on to 0 Hour here in a little bit, but before we conclude our journey here, Willie, actually on your side, are there any changes in particular that you're excited about with this updated version?
I'm excited about the way that the boss fight has changed for this activity.
Interesting.
Так,
We'll leave
босс-файт
that to folks to go
поменяли.
ahead and discover on their own.
Конечно, они поменяли босс-файты на то, что там будет чемпионов дохуя, и он Торментора запекает.
For the folks out there who are looking to go ahead and make sure that they're ready on day one to go ahead and add another craftable exotic into their collection, obviously the Whisper is going to be there for you. But we don't want to spoil all of it. You'll have it in your hands soon enough. And also, some folks out there have already had a chance to play it, so we don't want to go ahead and uncover too many of the mysteries.
Да ладно рассказать. Они говорят, типа, что Виспер будет крафтовый, но ничего не будем рассказывать по нему пока. Почему? Ну сказали, покажите сразу перки, блядь. Ну чему? Боитесь, что их опять захуесосят?
You've obviously got an homage to him on your...
I have my shirt, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about what this original concept was?
Так, Zero Hour.
So Trevor was really...
Блин, я не помню, как он по-русски называется.
There's this Japanese game show
Час...
called Takeshi's Castle.
Час чего-то?
It's been around a while.
Нет.
And it's great because it has all these physical challenges and people getting knocked down or flipped over and stuff and trying to get through things and there's just a lot of comparisons to what we try to do in Destiny, and we've borrowed from that show and shows like it for a long time for cool ideas. And they have this one bit where the contestants try to get up this hill, and there's this big fake boulder that comes down the hill.
Так, ну Zero Hour,
And there's these little
я вспоминаю, он был, конечно, не такой
rooms,
впечатляющий, как Виспер, но тоже интересно. Там же действия проходят в городе, там какие-то секретные бункера, непонятные, захваченные этими фоллинами. Вот эта комната с роботом дебильным, который тебя ебет. Прикольно.
And there you see the hill with the slots. We basically lifted off of Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into what we eventually made as a maze, right? And then there's the very first drawing of Trevor.
Даже эти, да, в официальной трансляции даже стримеры по Destiny уже отмечаются.
And when I looked at it, it had a bit of a vacuum cleaner look. It didn't quite nail the fear.
Sure.
Which we might talk about in a second here.
Ну, вот эта вот секция с этим роботом, она такая жутковатая была, прикольная, да. Там типа такой лабиринт, в котором надо вовремя какие-то кнопки подключать, и за тобой этот шредер перемалывает.
It feels terrifyingly familiar in some ways, we'll say. And kind of while we're on the legs, which brings up honestly another great example I'd love to touch on as well is, as a guardian myself, we've felled gods, we've fought some of the most difficult battles in the universe, whether it's against our fellow guardian or the many foes that set foot inside the solar system. When it comes to Trevor in particular, it elicits a very primal, sincere fear. How did you guys kind of elicit that from players who have obviously conquered so much?
Well, I think there's this satisfaction from scaring people that's inherent in everybody.
Да, говорят о том, что пугать игроков прикольно. Конечно, прикольно. Никто не спорит. В Destiny есть такие немножко с хоррор-уклоном миссии, они все клевые. Как это называлось, где ДМТ достаешь? Там вот на этой заброшенном корабле, там вообще в обосраться можно местами. Вот он, да, с города начинаешь, по этим канализациям ползешь, и оказываешься внезапно с фоллинами. А чем мобы красные? Вот меня вот это интересует. С этим, с мечом. Они проходят не обычную версию, а какую-то легендарку? Или они меняют, типа, она просто по дефолту сложнее будет? Подожди, а то, что Гардианы в этом, в новых сетах бегают?
And so I thought the bottom of this thing just has to be sideways centipede legs that are made out of metal, and they just grind you up when it catches you. And then the final piece of the formula for this thing really was to put a super bright light on it that would shine as a shadow caster across your, past your body, so you can see your own shadow.
Короче, ладно, ясно. Я так понимаю, что и по эпидемии они это тоже не будут показывать перки.
that I
Хотя,
feel and
блядь,
folks
нахуя вы
on
здесь
the team
собрались
also
вообще?
felt when we talked about like the trope of a subway that's coming around the corner.
Right.
Right.
Do you see
Just-
that
it's always-
finite
yeah.
just clock running out
It's
in front
coming.
of you?
Yep. You see the light coming, and then you see the thing,
Yeah.
and so that really helped us figure out how to make this thing as freaky as
О,
possible.
бриги, а не
No
вот, чтобы
Indiana
бриги
Jones laying
были.
down on the tracks hoping for the
эти
best
роботы.
here.
Yeah, no.
Not a chance,
Yeah,
no. Trevor's gonna chew
Там,
you up,
по-моему,
honestly.
та-
So also, we found ourselves now. We're in the beginning stages here of the Whisper. We can see on screen. Willie, we kind of touched on this briefly over the course of the Whisper, but can you tell us a little bit about what it was like, sort of reinventing these combat spaces and these encounters for Guardians in a modern sandbox, especially those that are going to have the Brave arsenal available to them?
Yeah, so just now you saw a brig in this encounter.
Да,
which
бриг, вот
wasn't
он говорит,
one
да,
before.
что опять нового по сравнению с
I
предыдущей
think
версией?
there's the desire to keep the soul of the activity.
Моб,
Is that, oh, there's time
моб
pressure
новый.
on me to finish this activity quickly, and also I'm
Ой, опять Windows полили. Да что ж такое?
going up against powerful enemies that are trying to stop me from doing that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that the combat still felt challenging, even in today's sandbox. So we added some.
А, да, вон там этот робот,
right.
чуть этот танк стоит.
And we
То
also
есть все
just
на
increased the
месте.
number of combatants, period, so that players had more to do with their more diverse and deadly tools.
Yeah. Guardians have plenty of those available to them. When you were developing these combat spaces as well, were there any moments where you really thought to yourself, like,
Интересный
all right,
подход
we really
на
centered in on
танк
what
с
was
мечом.
great about this
Такие.
mission originally, but this is going to be appropriately challenging for today's Guardians?
Yeah, I think
Блять, парни.
when we play tested it and we had everybody load up with their like new maneuverability tools, their swords, their grapples, to go through the activity, and then we were expecting that like, oh, people are going to breeze through this like it's nothing, like the original 20-minute timer has to become something else. But really, all of that translated over pretty well. Like the individual sections are self-contained enough that like you can't bypass too many things by just using one new tool.
Sure.
The whole thing sort of
То есть
still
миссия
felt like
все еще
Zero Hour,
такая,
even
что
with your new
дальше
tools.
новых
Yeah,
обилок
that
типа
makes perfect
крюка,
sense. Even
типа
with
там
the,
этих
we're
вот
gonna go
скейтов,
ahead and jump forward here a little bit as well, using
все
our
скипнуть,
dev
все
tools
сложные
to take a
моменты
look
нельзя будет.
at Trevor as well. So for the folks out there that want to reinstill that fear in themselves, now's a brief chance to check it out. Also, too, is we're in a world where, there's strand grapples, there's shatter skating. When it came to kind of redesigning these activities, or even making, I guess, alterations more appropriately on these activities, with one like Trevor, for example, what was the challenge that you kind of had to overcome with those new movement tools in addition to the combat tools that players have available to them?
Yeah, I guess philosophically, I want to make sure that if people were speccing into being highly maneuverable, then I honor that choice and say, yeah, you're highly maneuverable. Like maybe you're in this hallway with Trevor. I don't want to be ground up by these centipede legs, so I'm going to sword skate through this so I can
Вот
have
этот
a
самый
little bit of
лабиринтик,
speed on
где этот
Trevor. But
вот
like,
это бы он не
you
гоняется.
still can't invalidate the challenge entirely. Trevor will still kill you if you mistime those. So they're just like different expressions of how you want to tackle these challenges, and none of those expressions like fully throw these challenges out the window.
Yeah, actually, something too that I'm seeing pop up in chat here.
Ну, короче,
is the
что-то
mention of
что-то
the
будет.
timer. So for
Нельзя будет просто
starters,
так проскипать.
there's also-
Вот
this
эта
is
хуйня.
normal
Покажите,
to-
покажите
yeah,
хуйню.
Social Legends, is that right?
Блять,
Yeah, Tom, can you
поехал,
tell us a little bit
пидорас.
about
Ой,
like any updates to the timers in these
осуждаю.
missions as well?
So, and Willie, feel free to have him correct me if I'm wrong, but on normal, it's 40 minutes because we want to give players a little bit extra time, especially if you're new. We want this to be accessible. Everyone would get in there and get the experience. But a lot of our kind of like quests, content, and secrets are in the Legend version, which has a 20-minute
Блин,
timer.
сейчас сказал самую интересную секцию для тех, кто не играл.
Perfect. All right.
Проспойлерят. И шо?
In addition to these other updates you've made,
Не так
are there
интересно
anything
будет.
or any changes you've made in particular that you're excited about, that you're comfortable talking about it here, or is it just you want players to dive in and find out for themselves?
Yeah, so the whole secrets setup for Zero Hour is different. So previously we had key cards. Those have been replaced by another secret system that you'll just have to find out more about
Ну,
for yourself.
да, апдейты по
And,
миссии есть. То
I'm
есть
also proud
что-то
of
новенькое,
the
какие-то там
boss
новые
fight in
сундучки,
this.
кейпасы, там
That's
что-то
right. Yeah, we'll
такое.
hold that one close to the vest. Players will have a chance to see
Что-то
that on their own and see Willie's
придется
artwork
разбираться
in
поначалу.
person very soon. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show as well, there's going to be craftable versions of these exotics, and we're going to check them out. But there was one more example that I wanted to ask you about, Rob, in particular. There was some discussion briefly about the acronym that is Trevor. Could you tell us what that stands for?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, but I had to
Так,
open
вроде
my phone
poобещали
because it's,
рассказать
like,
про этот,
impossible to
про
remember that.
We all have our
Проперки
notes. Yeah, it's part of the game.
на крафтах.
So early on, the team, we just realized we had to figure out an acronym for this because we loved the name Trevor because it was paradoxical. I went to school with a kid named Trevor who was the nicest kid in the entire school. Just nice to everybody to a fault, right? So I always thought like Trevor is just the nicest name. And so paradoxically, here's this evil thing named Trevor, and we thought it was hilarious. But once we alphanumericized, is that a word?
Yeah.
Once we made that, we had to come up with the acronym. So the one that I had was Tracking Robotic 3-Vectored Reducer. Because it reduces, right, Tom? It's like
Господи, они даже для вот этого робота Тревора какую-то расшифровку придумали по буквам.
So when we went to GuardianCon and we did like a fly-through or like a walkthrough.
Yeah.
And so the community team thought that we should let the fans of GuardianCon decide what the actual acronym for Trevor was. And so we had like 5 different examples, and my tracking robotic was in there.
Oh,
yeah. One of the things, I was
И
like,
это придумали чуваки из
And so
GuardianCon.
at the
Господи.
end, what they decided on, and they decided by loud applause, and it was like very obvious that this is what they wanted.
The committee had
Oh yeah,
spoken.
it's like very obvious.
Yeah.
What they decided on was tame, relaxed, triple vac roommate. So that's the official name for Trevor.
That's it. It's
The acronym.
codified.
Yeah.
Thank you very much to the Dennis
Кринжуйте, братья, давайте
GCX,
больше
thank you very
ближе
much
к
for your
делу.
hard work and letting us know exactly what Trevor should be called. That's really cool. I wish I'd been there for that. Okay, now we're taking a quick look at the craftable exotics as well. We're going to go ahead and start with Whisper of the Worm.
Бокс
Tom, can you tell
бризинг.
us a little bit about what players who are kind of going
Муллиган
to
там по
facilitate
факту
their own
есть,
play style or
который
want to
пулю
build a Whisper all
возвращает.
to their own? What are they going to have to look forward to with all this?
Yeah, even before
Так,
we
ну
get
вот
into
это
the crafting, like
похую,
I've got
это
my notes here
снайперская
from Chris Proctor,
винтовка.
so
You're the man
Похую.
yeah, sitting on my shoulder, helping me out here.
Бокс бризинг, он же повышает урон, если чуть-чуть подержать в прицеле. Я правильно помню?
And of Outbreak, and you know, Whisper,
Блядь,
it's about
это
it's
вообще
a hard-hitting precision weapon where you're in
похую.
the backfield. Like, and if you land your crits, you're rewarded, and you can sustain a ton of damage.
Муллиган, если ты промахнулся, тебе что-то там возвращается. Ну, короче, такое. Он, по-моему, изначально
Ogres
был.
would be felled, the servitors.
Давайте
Don't
это.
stand a chance, yeah.
And then with Outbreak, it's the fantasy is all about spreading the plague of Siva nanites.
Certainly.
And we'll be able to get to that in a minute. But
I think we're looking at Whisper right now.
yeah, so specifically with Whisper and Outbreak, for both of them, with both these crafted weapons, they'll both have a craftable barrel, magazine, traits, and stock options. The barrel and magazine options will let you like really push the stats around. Like so you'll be able to have
Ну,
like,
стабилу, да, чтобы там прицел из этого стрельбы не улетал во время стрельбы. Это хорошо. Основные перки, пожалуйста.
Certainly.
Магазин 3, 72. Сколько у него обойма там?
And then specifically for
18.
the perks on Whisper, and both the perks on Whisper and Outbreak are things that by engaging in our secrets week over week, and both of these exotic missions.
Так,
you'll be able to
возвращение
unlock them.
Патриков.
And Whisper, it starts off with Mulligan, which is the classic perk where if you miss your shots, they get refunded. But if you upgrade it, you can get Field Prep, which will give you more shots, which equals more damage.
Так, больше выстрелов, да, здесь больше обойма получится.
Which will allow you to, you know, keep
Ну, это, блядь, поебать no distraction.
aim on your
Не
target
поймешь.
better. And there's
Inline
also
team, вот это...
action, which is for more forgiving reloads. So I think a lot of options for players with different play styles and different skill
нет, это
levels
не
there.
то. Импульс.
And then just the kind of the
На
cherry on
демочке
top
пока
there
ничего не
with
вижу, кроме
Whisper
этого,
is
кроме
that it's getting a reserves bump.
бокс-бризинга.
So it's going to go from 18
только
in reserve to
это
24
Whisper
in
Breeding?
reserve.
А что такое Whisper Breeding?
So you're going to have a ton of ammo.
Ой, какое-то было
to make it
специальное,
sustain
специальное
damage
обозначение.
monster, which is super exciting.
So ultra precise players like myself who never miss a shot.
Так, ну эти приклады это тоже для стабила, для сетов, но там был Whisper Breeding, это какая-то специальная версия бокс бризинга, которая, наверное, будет...
In addition to Outbreak Perfected now joining the pool of craftable exotic weapons.
Придется
Let's
запись
take a quick
смотреть.
look at Outbreak as well while we're here hanging out in the Enclave.
Outbreak Perfected.
Kind of, you know, second verse, same as the first, same question. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the perks and updates that players will have available to them?
Она 450-я была?
Their options to craft Outbreak Perfected?
Yep, and so in addition to barrels and mags, it has its classic outlaw perk is back. So you get your fast reloads on final blows, which works really well. With Outbreak, it's all about also landing precision hits to either
Так, ну Outlaw понятно.
spawn nanites or to kill
Выстрелы в
enemies
криты
on
увеличивают
nanites to
перезарядку.
spread
Это
that
хорошо.
SIVA energy around.
Spread the plague.
And then the second one, though, that we're added here is rapid hit, which plays right into that. So like you land your precision shots, you get more stability, you get faster reloads.
ПВП. Хорошо.
Then another new one is
Rewind rounds.
rewind rounds.
Say
It's
that
hard for me
3
to
times
say.
fast, yeah.
Rewind
Try
rounds
it
тоже
out.
хорошо.
Which refills
Для
your
ПВЕ.
reserves from.
Ну правильно, два
to
перка для
minimize your
ПВЕ,
reloads.
два
So, like,
перка
if
для
you're hitting
ПВЕ.
shots, you're just gonna keep
Для
getting
ПВП,
more
для
ammo,
ПВЕ.
which
Yeah.
is really kind of interesting.
Perpetual motion machine, no perpetual death
So
machine.
yeah, it's like, do you want the reloads, or you just want to keep shooting?
Yeah.
And then
Так,
there's
следующий
also
перк
Head
это,
Seeker,
ну,
which I think maybe for
просто
PvP or for
перк для,
certain playstyles where like
ну,
you're
которые вот
very
эти
much, you know,
при
focusing your
критах,
choke shots,
где
that's
на
something
них
to think about
вылетают,
as
которые
well.
убивают всех.
In terms of catalysts, if you already have them,
Yeah.
you're golden. You can craft those. If you don't,
There you go.
play the legend version of Whisper and 0 Hour, and you'll
Increase
get them.
на need them.
That's still in
ну,
there. And then, as I mentioned, for unlocking these new intrinsic perks that you can slot in, there'll be like a 3-week mini quest line that rolls into the secrets. For
короче,
each
да,
of these.
система такая же,
And
что если ты
Whisper is coming
хочешь,
in March with End of Light,
Exciting.
and 0 Hour
как
is coming in
называется?
May.
Perfect. Okay. So be a chance to go ahead and sync your team
Как
to the 0
называется?
hour
Я
for a
забыл.
while
Каталист,
before you go ahead
да,
and change your
то
attention and start
каталик
unlocking
будет.
another one of the storied exotics of old.
Yeah.
Also, it's worth mentioning that
Только я
there
не
are more
помню,
than
что было
just
через
the craftable
150-й.
weapons available as rewards in these missions. There's some tried and true ships. Now, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but as someone who still to this day wears 1,000 wings,
You and me.
yeah, like we
Что ты орешь?
know the feeling of getting that
Что
ship
ты
and
орешь?
finally having that I was there moment.
Не ори.
The ships are making
Не
a return
ори.
as well, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Собака
so
орет.
for both Whisper and for 0 Hour, they're coming back. Is it the exact same ship, or are there going to be changes on them?
No, these are actually new assets, right? They're new ships, so they won't be the same. They won't sit in the same spot in your inventory, and they are updated to look really cool and new. And I think they're exciting, especially we took the old scrap drifter ship that was, I think. Not really loved particularly by the community because it was literally scrapped together from spare parts to get built, and so we did a really nice pass on that. So it's inspired by the look of Outbreak Perfected, and I think it looks great. I think the community is going to love it.
Yeah.
And then we have the Whisper ship, 1,000 Wings. It's got a new design. So you'll still have your old.
Там же за прохождение что-то то ли легенды, то ли в срок, там еще эти давали. Господи, точно, там же давали еще и всякий такой став. Бля, посмотрим, прикольно. Да, это же, блядь, этот, если ты проходил легендарный, по-моему, этот Виспер, там вот этот легендарный, ну, офигенный этот был. Тейкеновский корабль, классный.
Excellent. Well, I think we are actually about at the point of the show we're going to go ahead and get ready to rotate over to the PvP map pack. But for starters, let's go ahead and make sure we thank our incredible team of playtesters here, going ahead and showing off the missions for us. Ashley, Peyton, and Michael, thank you all so much. Very much.
Ну, покажите плейтестеров, да, кто там за вас на фоне играл вместо разрабов корявых. Это нормально играли еще
I think
более-менее.
this is unfortunately the time now we bid you adieu to go ahead and transition into the PvP map.
See you soon.
Awesome, Willie. Thank you so much. All right, we are now
Так,
joined by
кто?
another member of the Bungie development team, a staff artist here who has helped made many of the PvP maps that you've also known and loved, the one and only Mr. Cooley Callahan.
Так, вот этот вот молодой человек, ответственный за наши любимые карты в ПВП. В скобочках. Мультимаг, блядь. Нормально в Trials поиграли сейчас на Мультимаксе, бля. Я даже заходить не стал. Junction. 2 километра на 2
I'm going to
километра.
go ahead and do us all a favor and put Cooley on the spot to a degree. Rob, we were talking a bit about Cooley's history.
We were.
Here. Can you tell us a little bit about the man sitting just to your left, the contributions he's made to the PvP pantheon?
Yeah, well, one of the things that was really important for us was to make sure that the strike team was stacked, that we had the best designers on the strike
То есть вот эта
team.
ПВП-команда,
Cooley is
которую они
certainly
собрали,
one of those.
чтобы
He's
заниматься
a
ПВП.
6-year
Вот этот вот
veteran
молодой
of
человек
the
справа,
PvP
он
team.
ее
He's
типа
shipped over
собрал.
11 maps.
Yeah.
A lot of them are fan favorites, and I'm not going to steal any more of Cooley's thunder. I'll just let him talk about some of them.
Пожалуйста, покажите лучше.
Not everyone's a banger. I mean, there's definitely some maps that people would want some words with me. But I
We'll
think,
save that for later. But what are
yeah,
some of the
just
bangers?
come find me. It's I think Burning Shrine,
Yeah.
which is now Burnout. It's such a classic map. It's a Trials favorite. And then Midtown is another map that turned out really well. We built that for Countdown, but I was just chatting with another Destiny fan at the dog park the other day, talking about how well that map supports all of the different engagement ranges, which is definitely something that we try to do. We try to create places for players to use their favorite tools.
Yeah. Now, with the maps, we're going to be looking at 3 of them today with kind of a primary focus on, you were mentioning earlier, I think it was the 3v3 kind of competitive side of things was sort of a focus for
Ой,
these
блядь,
maps.
эта карта
Absolutely. Yeah, I think early
на
on,
3 на
a lot
3.
of the direction that we got was we wanted to bolster that competitive
Ой,
gameplay
блядь, да
experience
кому это нахуй
with new
интересно?
maps,
Господи.
tweaks to the modifiers of some of the modes. And so we, in our play testing, really focused on the competitive playlist and really centered and put those
Не, ладно, хорошо,
experiences at the
если
forefront.
если они вообще в
And then,
целом
you
будут
know,
доступны
while
еще в
testing
обычном
maps,
контроле режиме
to
6 на
suit a
6,
variety of
то хуй
modes,
с
so we
ним.
also made sure they worked elsewhere. But for the most part,
Yeah.
we really did want to provide new experiences and just breathe a little bit of new life into the higher,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit sweatier gameplay.
So weird how you were staring directly at me when you said sweaty, but that's fine. We'll let it go for now. You know, actually, briefly too on that topic before we kind of go into the guided tour of these maps. You know, having had so much time to sort of be a part of building the tapestry that so much of our PvP happens on. what were some of the
Рассчитывают
key
на,
lessons that you've
блядь,
kind of taken away from
competitive
having built those
в
maps
3,
and
но
seeing
это
them
я
go through
хер
everything
знает.
from
Конечно,
trials to quick
Series
play and
это
you know,
все
bringing
хорошо,
those lessons into these
но
maps?
Yeah, I think one thing
подпивасный
that is
геймплей 6 на
always at
6,
the
типа,
forefront of our
нам можно
minds is
чего-нибудь, любителям
you
такого
know, trying to
подпивасного
strike
геймплея,
that
нам можно
balance
какие-нибудь
between
бенефиты хоть раз
you know,
предоставить?
providing the playground for players to express themselves and express their guardian and their play style. So a lot of verticality, a lot of movement, and then balancing that with making sure players understand where they're getting shot from, and you know, creating a satisfying PvP engagement that doesn't.
Так,
It
надо
doesn't leave players,
вспомнить,
you know, cursing the
какие эти
map
они
or
обещали.
you
В
know,
мире
feeling like
престоле Саватун
they don't
карта,
understand why they died. So
на
Yeah.
Европе
we want to
наконец-то
make sure that
карта.
players
Где
have
еще? На Неомуне, наверное, же, да?
you know we want to
На Неомуне,
provide
блядь.
a
На Неомуне
choice
этот
for players that's, you
мультифлекс
know,
ебаный
always
был.
available to them
Практически.
to riff and to work with their team to you know, use the map to their advantage. So
Yeah.
it's a balancing like a complex gameplay space that allows a lot of
Так, но с другой
movement
стороны, если они
freedom
говорят,
without you know
пред-
opening it up so much that
Фу,
you're
блядь.
not understanding
Если
like,
они
you get shot from so many different
дизайнили
places.
карты под 3 на 3
So we
компетитив геймплей,
really,
что они не должны быть
it's a
огромными,
little bit of back and forth. We'll open it up. We'll try some
что уже
things,
хорошо.
especially this time around.
Потому что
we
даже для
tried
тот же самый
some stuff
Disjunction,
and
это
got into the weeds a
даже
little
для
bit,
шестерых
but,
это пиздец огромная
I
карта.
think that's all part of the discovery process of finding the gameplay that we want to create. And so we go a little further, maybe too far in the openness and Swiss cheese, and then we bring it back and make it a little bit more focused and really dial in the engagements that we want.
That's awesome. I mean, speaking of getting in the weeds, there's no time like the present. Shall we go ahead and dive on in?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Он еще будет
Dive
показывать.
on
Ну давай.
in. All right, we got
Я
the
надеюсь, не в
first
бою,
of
потому что
3
в бою
maps to
его
go
сейчас
ahead and
будут
show up. This
убивать
is the,
постоянно.
we have one on Europa, one on Neomuna, and then one on one of the pyramid ships in Essence, I believe is the
That's
name of
right.
the location.
В
So this is
пирамиде.
the first one. This is here on Europa. Cooley, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here today, or where?
Так.
Yes, so this map
Опа.
is called Eventide Labs, and this is a long-forgotten human colony research outpost on Europa. And it just so happens that Aramis has chosen this location
Это та
as a
самая,
refueling
это
station.
та часть
So
карты
here you'll see,
Европы,
you know, perched just
которая
above
большая,
the
огромная,
horizon
прикольная,
is
где
Fresh
фолланы
in
тусовались,
the skybox,
и которая в
you know,
игре
it's
сейчас
hooked
используется
up,
не
and,
как...
we have a servitor over here that's
Ух, ёб твою мать.
hooked up to the catch to provide that ether that the Elixni need.
Блядь,
So
она
we
что,
really
она
wanted to
похожа...
situate the maps in the universe and you know, draw on that deep Destiny lore. But yeah, we definitely have a
Подожди, у меня
presence of Fallen
галлюцинации
here,
или была
set
похожая карта?
amongst
Что-то
the,
было похожее.
abandoned human, you know, ice-encrusted structures of the past, which has been a really fun
Короче,
environment to work on. We
херово
definitely
то,
want
что
to bring
они
in
решили
as
в
many new
Европе
palettes as
делать
possible because, you know, there's so much
карту на
great,
основе города Эликсни,
environment art
а не
content.
фоллинов,
Palettes
а не
are really cool, and we want to
какой-нибудь в стиле
want to use
этого
those
Кловиса
in
Брея, вот что-нибудь такое
PvP
там в этих
for
лабораториях. Мне
revenge.
кажется,
So,
было бы
you know,
посимпатичнее,
the
конечно.
different palettes have different character that
Yeah.
leads to different gameplay spaces.
Also, you know, when it comes to kind of finding these maps of place in the world, Rob, you know, having kind of looking at through an artistic lens.
Здесь у меня такое ощущение,
What were
что я
some of
это
the
уже видел.
challenges or
Почему?
even kind of
Блядь,
exciting
это вот в этой игре
opportunities
была такая
potentially of
карта или
finding,
нет? Тоже,
you know,
по-моему,
new
зимняя, тоже с
places
какими-то
for these
такими
maps to live in
переходами
the more
странными.
modern era of Destiny that we've been experiencing more recently?
Может, в первой
We really wanted to
версии?
make sure
Или
that
может, я вообще
when we
пьяный?
do an update like this, you know, it's a major refresh to the map rotator, right? Like we're adding quite a bit of variety here. We wanted to make sure that we had 3 distinctly different places and places that players haven't seen a bunch of times. So
Right.
fortunately, we had these. available to us. And
Не, я даже ничего не буду говорить по поводу того, что типа как я чисто визуально. Визуально, типа, ну, лед, я надеялся, что будет что-то в Кловисе Брея в секции такое технологичное, опять же, там с такой хуйней, а тут просто эти фоллоновские какие-то заброшенные руины. Ну, норм, но, опять же, это только в геймплее воспринимается. Только в геймплее. Сейчас что-то говорить, блядь, это писями по воде.
For multiplayer, and I'm sure Cooley's going to talk about this a bunch.
Yeah, actually, also too, Cooley, if you wouldn't mind, as people who have heard me talk too much about Destiny PvP would know, Dead Man's Tale and I get along a
Они сейчас,
lot.
блядь, и в
Can you
Неомуне
tell us a little
сделают.
bit maybe
Подожди, в
about some of the
Неомуне есть?
sightlines or opportunities that I'll have to maybe
Там
rack up
крыша
some
есть, блядь.
additional
Было бы
kills
прикольно
as
на
I dive
крыше
into this map the
какой-нибудь
first
карту.
time?
Totally.
Что-нибудь
If,
того.
if long range is
Как
your
Хайрай
thing,
сказал бить.
this spot out here is definitely the place for you.
А, вот, 3 на
There's
3,
one
нормально.
spawn that
Этот,
happens
3
for
точки
one team over
контрольские
by C
есть.
and then one over
Можно
by
играть.
A. And so in
6
these
на 6.
competitive modes, if you've got an objective out here, this sight line is really important to lock down. So this is the
Так, а что за прикол
this
с
is a spot where you can have two
этими,
teams poking,
со
peeking each
спешалами
other,
на карте?
and
Что это
then
такое?
rushing over here to try to get to this zone and lock it down. And
Yeah.
if you're rolling with that long range kit, you can hang back and sort of lock down this airspace here so that you can provide
Так,
cover.
ладно, нормально, нормально.
maybe
Вот тут мне
support your
интересно вот
team
эта вот
from
штука с
being
зеленкой. Они,
harassed on.
блядь, эти зеленки теперь будут нам подсовывать таким образом в
And
пакетах.
then
Fantastic.
we also have sort of this the sight line in the middle, which will be pretty fun. It's definitely going to be a race to for each player or each team to kind of get to this spot and lock down this sort of portal here.
Это мы
to
уважаем.
ensure
Это мы
that you
уважаем
can
с эти,
push into this space and
со
kind of
скауткой
control the
посидеть,
middle. But
пождать
as you can
товарищей.
see, there's
Варлоки
lots
под
of
себя
ways
наливают
for
лужи и
players to
сидят,
come in and flank.
кайфуют.
So if you're holding this space, you'll really not want to be here for too long unless you've got the support to do it.
Yeah. Make sure you throw those grenades right off of the rip, basically, when you're coming out of spawn to try and
Yep.
conquer that territory as best you can.
Yeah, one of the things I love about these ice caves is, it provides a lot of opportunity for grenades, like trip mines, and to bounce things off of the back of the walls. And the shapes here are just really fun to play with.
All right, so this is
Я уже
one
представляю,
of the
как
three
гореть
maps.
будет.
Let's go
Он
ahead
говорит о
and
том,
prepare to
что
go ahead
вот
and
эти
move
вот все
on to the next
ледяные
one here
стены
really
такие
quickly. We've
округлые.
got, coming up next,
Они прикольные для вот этих вот
Neomuna,
трип-майн-гранат,
as well.
для
So
этих,
finding a
для
place, on Neomuna,
жуков
obviously,
будет
that
стрендовых.
makes
Я уже
sense for
представляю, как будет
PvP.
жопа гореть у чуваков, которые
Probably
там
seems
типа,
pretty
блядь,
natural,
прилетает
honestly, given just
какая-нибудь
how
граната
rich
вообще,
and
не пойми
vibrant and
откуда.
exciting of a place it is. What was it like, even starting from an artistic standpoint on this map, Rob?
This was a really exciting map for the team. It's a shopping/entertainment center for the exos on Neomuna. And,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really fun decoration, and the spaces have a lot of character to them. There's a lot of recognizable things, human scale.
Торговый
things that
центр в Неомуне? Чё? Я правильно услышал?
relatable, and we don't always get that in all of our palettes. And so this is also an opportunity for us to have a really clean,
Ой-ой-ой-ой-ой. Вот это
crisp
мне нравится
edges
уже.
and very flat floors. So all of definitely the more competitive players and the sort of the more
Понял.
PvP diehards, they really take to this map, and it's an instant hit. People are,
Бля,
right
вот это мне
away
нравится.
with,
Сразу
how
говорю.
readable the map is. It's one of those maps that you play a couple times and you get it. Like you understand that it's all about this.
Блять, вот так вот.
atrium
Я
room
что-то
that
подобное думал, что в Европе
and
будет. Вот
kind of, has this
центр
big pit in
Кловиса,
the
бля,
middle, and
он
then,
двухэтажный.
there's this area down here, which is where a lot of objectives spawn, and there's some special ammo down here. But then there's also this place over here.
Блядь,
where
лифты.
the heavy ammo spawns.
Heavy
where,
ammo.
Players will oftentimes just pop up here to do a quick check and maybe like try to get a cheeky kill on somebody who's maybe running from cover to
L4
cover,
Vibes
but
пишут в
you can't
чате.
hang out
Блядь,
here for very long
100%.
because you've got so many different angles at which you can get shot from. But that's kind of like that balance of what I was talking about before. Like
Симметрично
we wanna
получается.
provide
Коридорчики,
that, but we wanna
коридорчики,
make sure
коридорчики.
that,
Посередине вот эта вот херня с
it's not
дыркой.
too powerful or
Бля, ну, блядь,
it's
ну, визуально мне
still,
очень
it's a
нравится.
risk reward, right? You're making a trade-off, and
Такая
the players
чистенькая.
who are using the map well,
Бля.
who understand the map, will be able to use it to their advantage.
Yeah, actually, also too, to kind of focus on the readability. I remember overhearing some discussions with you designers talking about the clean zone in PvP. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how it kind of helped inform the design of this map?
Yeah, definitely. I think the clean zone is something that a lot of developers really use to sort of
Опа,
create
тесты на
this
третьего
space
лица.
for
Когда?
the player to
Когда?
pop, right? To like really stand out from the environment. And so for us, it's about
Он не
where
понял,
the
как включить первое
player's head
лицо?
height is. And this map is, just one of the examples of how it can really provide for a good PvP experience to have this sort of mark on the wall where you can kind of expect players to reside in.
Yeah.
Они говорят
Jump
про
around and strands suspend you in the air, and you're
чистоту.
just left there
Ну, это
cursing
потому
to
что
the
просто
heavens for a little while.
карта
Maybe
такая,
I'm speaking
она
on my own
визуально
behalf.
приятная, такая в спокойных тонах,
This is looking fantastic. Yeah, this
и
is, I
не
will say, one of the maps
сильно
I'm having a
выбивает,
little
ну,
bit of
типа,
playtesting
там
myself.
Гардиан на
I
фоне
still have to
не
give you credit for
затеряется,
perhaps
каких-то
one of the
там
most
на
diabolical heavy
фоне
weapon
стен.
spawns, heavy ammo spawns, rather, I should see, in any PvP map. Like
Подожди,
the
она
sheer amount
все-таки
of risk reward that
одноэтажная.
goes
То есть,
into
если я
just making
попаду
your way
вниз, я там
safely, or
умру.
so you think, out to that particular territory.
Right.
As you guys were even building that balance in of these consumables on the map, Cooley, what was it like sort of having that process evolve or grow?
Yeah. Typically when we start laying out a map, we just kind of start with control because it's a good base point.
Немножко не понимаю,
Requires three, very well-defined combat
как бы
pockets
эти
that
точки
have an objective.
на все на одном уровне
Then from
находятся.
there, we start mapping out the other objectives that might exist on a map, like the heavy ammo point. And I think we've kind of gravitated more toward having special ammo live next
Ну,
to
тут лифт.
some of the other objectives on the map.
Куда он
so you're
ведет?
not
Прям ты в
constantly
него заходишь,
having
опускаешься
to
вниз,
make a
умираешь.
choice of where should I go. But we kind of map those things out, and it's sort of a formula. There's definitely a
Они так долго
sort
ждут,
of
типа,
a
если карта
core
уже вот готова,
operations, so to speak,
они,
of
они
you
же
start with
наверняка
these big
долго играют. Они
strokes,
заанонсили то, что
you
карты
go to the next
появятся, ну, то,
stage
что
and
карты в
start
мае
making sure that
выйдут.
you've got
Они сказали об этом
space
довольно
and
давно.
combat pockets for,
Чё тянуть, вот, типа,
maybe Dominion
блядь,
or,
ну, вот с апдейтом бы и
some
выпустили.
other game modes, and things just kind of fall into place from there.
Excellent. All right, and we got one more map to check out as well. For all the fine folks at
Я,
home, we're gonna
наверное, может, они об
continue
этом
our
говорили, но я
guided
все равно не
tour, and we're
понял,
gonna
типа,
make our
внизу
way
есть что-то или
over
нет, потому что так, как
to
будто карта
Essence, to one of the
маленькая.
pyramid ships, to
6 на
check
6 там
out the
ебать какой
final PvP
пизделого
map that we'll
будет.
be releasing in this
Но
pack. As we're flying in,
если
I
нам будет
gotta
этажный, там
give
еще
you guys credit, like the
чуть
space
ниже
that
можно
exists
бегать, то это,
inside those
блядь, с ума
pyramid
сойти
ships
можно,
is being
потому что у тебя
carried
радар
over the
будет с ума
traveler.
сходить.
Looks just absolutely incredible. But this is the first time you guys have had a chance to really flex your muscles and build a PvP map out here. Rob, just to start from your perspective as we load in, what was it like developing this, playground for Guardians that's kind of so deep in the enemy's backyard?
I think it was really tough.
Yeah.
I remember there were quite a few iterations of this map, and I know Cooley's going to go into more detail, but like from a high level, it's a pretty inherently noisy.
Да, пока не стандартно, типа,
Cooley
ты,
was
когда
talking about the
говорят,
clean
что карта будет на
There's
Европе,
some
ты думаешь,
palettes in the
там
game
что-то
that
на
are
улице,
just
там, типа,
very
туда-сюда, тут
visually
один вроде на
noisy.
улице,
So
он
the
такой,
geometry is
в
noisy,
городе
they
или
create a lot
листья.
of shadow and a
Говорят
lot
про
of highlights.
Неомуну,
Yeah,
думаешь,
the
что там
geometry
что-то опять
itself.
вот неон, а
And
тут
then the
просто какой-то
textures,
жилой
the
центр,
layers
тоже
that are
очень,
on the
ну, чистый,
geometry,
такой
those
под
can be
закрытым
noisy.
этим,
Yeah.
And then there's the
диссонанс.
clutter of the palettes. So
Ой,
when you
бля.
have an environment with a lot of entropy and there's just
Это
rubble
этот,
everywhere, there's like
на, там,
garbage thrown around
где,
or plants hanging down,
господи,
like we often do in Destiny, we have to
источник
declutter.
кошмара,
Some of like
на
European
том,
dead zone maps, for
том
example,
корабле
are highly cluttered. And so
свидетеля
this was an
в
example of one
пирамиде.
of those fairly entropic, high clutter palettes
Yeah.
that the team
Бля.
had to kind of wrangle into shape.
Yeah.
And
Ну, это, короче, disjunction, который подверся тераморфу странника.
Actually, yeah,
Ух,
Cooley, I'd love
блядь.
to continue and just start there. Taking this space on a pyramid ship and kind of making it suitable for a PvP map. What was that process like from your perspective, kind of from more of a design side?
Yeah, it's again a process of back and forth. We start with mass out, and mass out is the simplest and cleanest a map will ever be.
Да, тоже такая чистенькая, без лишнего визуального шума. Ну, типа, понятно, что дизайнерские эти приколы все есть, но они как бы, бля, очень аккуратненько.
And even with a more abstract palette like the Essence ship, it's worth asking that question because we can leverage spatial archetypes that just kind of
Ну, такая
naturally resonate with
и
people.
небольшая, как
Like here we
могла
have
быть,
in
так
this map we have
могла
sort of these
показаться,
dueling
точнее,
huts,
вроде,
or these
ну,
dueling ziggurats,
спаун,
and
опять
inside
центр,
of them is this artifact or shrine. So maybe this is like
посерединке
maybe
эта
this part of the ship
комнатка.
is a collection of mysterious artifacts that the witness has collected. And so we lean on those
Блин,
things
ну,
to
это
give
визуально
a
разъеб
into the
страшный.
space that otherwise
Как играться
is
будет, это
completely
надо только
abstract.
тестить, так и вообще не сказать.
And that is
Вообще,
also really useful for us in
приколдес, мне
terms of
нравится.
we can make any kind of space we want. Like we're not limited by architectural constraints, but it can be tough sometimes to orient players in the map when you don't have things like doors or, you know, like TVs or you know, any sort of, you know, human scale architectural pieces that kind of clue you in. So, yeah.
Да,
It's
все
also
такое
too is I remember we were
низ,
talking a little bit before the
без
show,
деталей,
Rob,
которые
even
могли,
about
типа,
what it was like from a design standpoint and
детали,
bringing
которых
in
мог
external
коснуться
testers
человек,
to
да,
try these
там,
maps out for
типа,
the first time.
все
Can you
такое,
tell us a little bit
блядь.
about that experience and kind of as you, I think, phrased it, discovering your own blind spots?
Yeah, well, we've done this before for years, really, and
Yeah.
we did it again here, and it was, I think, really successful because
Не
it
делали
was
это
2
годами.
days. They ran
Карты,
through
блядь, не
these
делали
maps when they were
годами.
still in development. They
Пиздец.
weren't too far enough along where we couldn't make some pivots that we needed to.
Yeah.
And they
Ну,
found a
опять
lot
же,
of
ну что
stuff. I mean,
это
for
просто...
this map, for example, we thought it was in a pretty good place.
Yeah.
And a lot of things were called out. They didn't pull any punches. They were honest and clear and constructive with the feedback. And it
Yeah.
wasn't super easy to hear it all, but
Sure.
you know, when the team listened to it, and we took tons of notes, and it was also about, I mean, they gave feedback on our sandbox.
Блин,
as
а так
well.
как будто
Yeah.
здоровая
But
карта.
lots and lots of map feedback. It was incredibly useful, and you know, just another lesson in what we don't see.
Yeah.
Блин,
You
да
know,
прикольно.
and
Не
it's
знаю,
so
визуально,
valuable to do that
опять
with
же,
these,
ультра
I can't
разъеб.
say who they were,
По
but they're very
размеру,
well-known
Yeah.
community
Maybe some
players.
folks in chat, who knows? But
блядь,
Yeah.
спешл
yeah.
кам.
Yeah, but you know,
Что
we
такое?
really
Они это
were
анонсировали? Это
careful
должно,
about
это
who
будет?
we
Это что это
brought in
такое?
because we wanted people that would be very pragmatic. You know, they weren't interested in their own, you know, YouTube monetization strategy or how they particularly make content. They wanted the game to be in a great place. They wanted PvP to be in a great place for the community and for Destiny.
Absolutely.
Right? And so they were carefully selected that way, and great communicators who could articulate the feedback that
Между
really
А
spoke to what
и
they were
С
experiencing and
150
what we could
метров.
do to fix what they were experiencing.
Yeah.
And I'd like Cooley can probably say what he thinks about it too, but
Yeah.
I was just blown away by
Yeah.
how valuable that was, and we definitely want to keep doing that.
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cooley, can you tell us a little bit more about that experience on your side as well?
Totally. I mean, it's so fun to, like, those are some of my favorite moments when we can get a bunch of, you know, super fans from the community in and show them work in progress stuff, and they can actually give us real actionable feedback that we take
Да,
back
вы
to
можете
the back to our
показывать
desks
штуки,
and
которые только
talk about it,
появятся,
and we, you
показывать
know,
это комьюнити,
we
комьюнити
discuss how we
реагировать,
can,
и это можно все
you
исправлять.
know,
И
take their
это можно
feedback
делать
and
было,
move forward.
блядь,
And
всю
this
десятилетнюю историю
content is
Destiny.
for them in
Yeah.
in a big way, right? Like we need their approval. Like we absolutely, you know, that's our mark. That's our goal.
Охуеть,
is
вот,
to,
блядь,
you know,
хорошо, эти три
create
карты
content that
выйдут,
they're
вы
gonna
проведете
love playing, that they're excited to
в
play,
первую же
that
неделю
their
Осирис будет на новой
communities
карте
are
на
gonna get
Европе.
excited to play, and,
Вас там
you know,
скажут, что это,
just
блядь, полная
learn
хуйня.
together and
Что-то и
build
поменяется,
strategies
и
for,
если поменяется, то насколько
you know,
быстро, хер его знает.
that's the funnest part of the job.
Yeah. I mean, also, you know, Cooley, on your side in general, what are you most excited for players to experience once this gets out into the world with Into the Light?
Yeah, I'm excited
Портал
to see these
сжимается.
maps rotate into trials. I'm excited for players to have a totally new trials experience that, you know, is going to be a sort of an experience of discovery of these new spaces and new strategies.
Не, ну трайлсы должны быть, да, прикольные.
players to
Если опять же с этими, с
also, you know,
рандомными
the
поинтами,
meta
то захватывать
isn't
надо,
really
блядь.
formed
Ну
yet. I mean,
прикольно,
like,
прикольно,
we
прикольно.
sort of know how the map plays, but it's always a fun
Мне
surprise to
нравится.
see in the wild just how the map ends up sorting out and what people end up doing. And
Я опять же не понимаю, что за прикол за
really looking
зеленкой.
forward to just
Что-то
watching
я,
that
наверное,
map.
пропустил какие-то там будущие
Yeah.
апдейты, но
I
это,
mean, I
это
count
рафля.
myself
Там
among
еще
the many
эти
that are
пачки
excited to
зеленки
go ahead and
подбирать.
dive on in, having more playgrounds to go ahead and dive on in on trials, no matter what the case is. Maybe try and go ahead and actually get some more competitive rank. Cooley, thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through these today. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, my pleasure.
Excellent. And all right, well, we'll go ahead and use that as a moment to conclude the quick tour of as well of the PvP maps. We got a quick question from chat from Jake Asor asking about are we going to get a playlist or mode that'll be just these new maps during Into the Light? And the answer is yes. When they launch on May 7th, we'll have a 3v3 playlist to go ahead and talk just about these items. Or rather, let you play just those maps. Rather, we're talking about them today. They're all going to be playing them very shortly. All right, well, that so far wraps up the first two segments of our show. But we've got, as I mentioned at the top, a few more announcements for you as well. So you may have heard us mention the word Pantheon in the TWID last week, or even on the show here last week potentially as well.
Что такое
We
Пантеон?
have got a brand new raid boss gauntlet rather, starting on April 30th. Now there will be more information about this in an upcoming TWID. You'll have more details to dig into shortly, but you will have the Pantheon coming up where you'll have an opportunity to face grueling raid bosses in a weekly challenge with escalating difficulties and rewards. Now, this is a chance for you to go ahead and rally your clan or the perfect fire team with Fire Team Finder. If you want to track
Короче,
them down, go ahead and
что
track down those
какие-то,
exotics, adept weapons, any emblems you may not have gotten your hands on. But
короче, какие-то
we
новые
have more details for
челленджи
that in the
для
coming
рейдов.
weeks. Keep an eye
Что
on the
там
thread.
усложненные, я так понимаю, боссы, что-то они там
Work putting that together.
перебафать будут. Какие-то
Two,
модификаторы, походу.
when you dive on in on April 9th, actually, rather, before we get there, I'm sorry, we will have the opportunity to also, you'll have the opportunity to get a title through your course of Into the Light as well. So if you dive on in, go ahead and unlock all the triumphs associated with the seal. You'll be
Новый
able to
триумф
march
будет,
into the
естественно,
final shape with
естественно.
a
Спасибо
brand new
большое.
title,
Новый
Brave,
титул,
as well.
отлично,
So make
кайф.
sure, go
Дрочим
ahead and get those big
Onslaught и
challenges
становимся
bit off so we can handle
Outslaughters.
them as early as we
Slaughters.
possibly can and let the witness know that you're on the way. And we have 3 really, really cool things hitting on April 9th when Into the Light launches.
Что
The
там будет
first one
последнее?
is if you're a new player, you got a buddy who's just jumping into the game for the first time, and you'd rather not hang out with Shahan and the Cosmodrome, then you have an opportunity to go ahead and just join the front lines. You can skip the New Light campaign, give Shahan maybe a high five on the way out, ask him for a weekly bounty with
Пиздец,
your
можно
buddy
будет
later,
скипнуть
but
эту
you
душную
have a chance to go ahead
хуету
and meet up
для
with your friends, head to
нью-лайтовцев.
the Hall of Champions,
Пиздец.
grab the gift of the
Ебать,
Thunderboard if
спасибо,
you so
папаша.
choose, and get ready for battle alongside them. So you'll be able to go ahead and grab some of these New Light kits as well, depending on what your subclass of choice is out of the gate.
Ха-ха!
But your barriers to dive in with your friends have never been
Алексей,
lower. There'll be a chance to
влетаем
go ahead
9
and dive
числа
on
в
into
Destiny,
everything you're seeing with
получается.
Into the Light here. Also, we have a couple more things. We have some questions in chat about this as well from Idzepski and Atlas Live TV. But on 4.9, you'll have the opportunity to also change the way your character looks. So you'll be able to go ahead and change your hair. If you didn't
Господи,
like your
можно будет
haircut,
поменять...
if you want to go ahead and change your face paint, if you want to go ahead and
Поменять
risk it,
внешность
be one of those
персонажа.
guardians who goes
Раз
helmless
я
for a
хочу
tower. I'm not
из
sure if I'm
экзо-титана
brave, but
превратиться
many of you
в,
are.
блядь,
Your chance
человека-титана,
will be
нахуй.
arriving very soon with Into the Light. And there will also be an opportunity to change your name. So, Guardian4681 out there, with the launch of Into the Light, we're also going to give you one more name change token. If you already have yours sitting around, I believe you have
Поменять
2, but our
ник?
friends at
Не, я не
TPS will
буду.
be able to answer that question for you. But you'll have
Я
that
почему-то думал,
chance
что если ты в
as
Steam
well
меняешь, там
once
Destiny
Into
тоже
the Light
меняется,
launches.
нет?
Now, there's a lot, but we also have one more thing for all of you.
Тут что-нибудь большое, прикольное.
Next week, we're going to be joining you again for a special developer preview of some gameplay for Destiny 2: The Final Shape.
Блять!
Be, here, wherever you're watching live,
На следующей
you'll be able to
неделе
go ahead and watch
смотрим
it on
Destiny
April 9th at 9:30
Final
a.m.
Shape
Pacific,
геймплей.
where you'll get a
Ебать!
chance to basically, again, get a look behind the scenes as the developers have been hard at work for some cool stuff that you are definitely not going to want to miss.
Подожди, а как
Before
играть?
that
Вы
show,
8 часов апдейт...
Twitch drops will be live.
Будут эти
So
сервера
there'll be
сломаются,
another
игра не
emblem
будет
which
работать.
you can see
Нормально.
here live on
Тогда
the stream.
смотрим.
That'll be available after about 15 minutes
Оу.
of view time. If you
Эмблемку можно
haven't
будет
gone ahead and
залутать.
also unlocked the emblems that you got as a result of this show or that we're having available during the Into the Light streams, then you have a chance to go ahead and spend some more time unlocking those as well. But that does it. For starters, to all of you Guardians out there in chat, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Блин, как же они
Thrilled
это
about
под
what we've
тайминг
been able
прям.
to
Этот
show off
бедный
and thrilled
чувак,
about
он
what the
прям
team's
это
been
прям
working
вот
for
смотрит на
Into
часы
the
такой,
Light.
надо
So
быстро-быстро
thank
все
you for taking the
протараторить и
time
все
to join
рассказать.
us. Chat, we
Ну,
see
на
you out
10
there
минут
having a good
задержитесь,
time,
ну что
so
вы, куда
thank you very
спешить-то?
much for
Ладно.
taking the time to be with us today.
Геймплей
Also,
Final
it goes without
Shape
saying, but we'll go
на
and do so
стриме.
anyway, to the incredible team here at
Что
Bungie,
нас ждет?
building Into the Light, making all of this.
Блять,
The
ничего
teams
нового
that you
нас
guys
не
have
ждет.
been
Я
kind
уверен,
enough
что
to
они будут показывать
represent,
просто
thank
локацию
you all
внутри
so much for all of your
странника.
hard work.
Что-то мне
We're
такое
nothing without the
предчувствие.
entire
И те
teams that we
сабклассы,
have
которые они
here.
показали,
Bungie obviously are the
обновленные.
heroes, and we're firm believers in that.
Ничего
You
прям
all
ультра
are
нового,
great
наверное, вряд ли
examples
будет. Может, пару
of that
пушек.
whole scenario. To our
Да, ну
flight
ладно, это все равно
testers
ждем,
as
потому
well
что
that
там
have helped us bring this show to life,
коммуникация
Ashley,
в
Nathan,
страннике,
and
это
Mike here
тоже
behind
там
the
фул
scenes.
разъеб.
Thank you so much for showing off some of the cool new content, and of course all of our guests, to Tom, to Rob, to Cooley,
Так, и что по
to
итогу?
Willie, to Noah,
По
to
New
Kelsey.
Light они все рассказали.
I'm not
По
forgetting
Into
anyone
the
on
Light
this.
они все
To Chris,
рассказали.
thank you. To the one and only Mr. Chris Proctor as well. Thank you all for joining us. And
Видос
now
делать надо, что ли?
that is
Суммировать
about
это
it. So
все.
we're going to keep the stream here live until about 11:30, I believe, so you can go ahead and get a little bit more time racking up the last bits of those emblems. But in the meantime, that's it for all of us here at Bungie. Oh, also,
Так.
I'm sorry, to the team of producers here.
9
everyone here
часов.
that
Сейчас
makes this
ресет.
show
Надо
possible.
идти в Железное
They
Знамя,
have the
фармить.
challenge of making me look good on
Вот
camera,
что я вам
so
хочу сказать.
obviously
Поэтому,
we'll just cut
товарищи
out for them.
Гардианы,
Thank you all so much for helping bring this show to life.
поэтому, товарищи Гардианы, пойдем фармить гранатомет стрендовый, волновой, с чейн реакшеном, с Envious Assassin. Хороший гранатомет для ПВЕ. Вая. Целую, обнимаю. Всем пока-пока.